Good evening y buenas tardes, Ed 683. My name is Lisa Rogers, and this is my cultural bag. I kind of struggled at first to decide what I wanted to put in my bag because I felt like it was such a broad prompt which is awesome, but at the same time kind of challenging because it's hard to really decide what is your culture? Who am I? Where do I come from? And so I just decided to choose some items I felt like represented me and, my experience growing up and things that kind of have made my identity and been, in a way, part of my culture. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about, these aren't really in any particular order, but music and the arts definitely is a huge part of my culture. My grandfather used to play harmonica, guitar, he sang. My mom used to sing to me every night before I went to sleep. She has a beautiful voice. My dad isn't as vocally talented, but he does play the piano and he can read music. So I kind of followed in those footsteps, those musical footsteps. And so I took choir in high school and in college. I took piano lessons for about 7 years. And so that's what I wanted to show here was one of my first piano books. This is my very beginner level one. So if anybody who reads music, this is pretty basic. So, there's that. And then I moved on to playing more advanced pieces. For example, Fur-Elise by Beethoven. I played Beethoven. I love classical music, so Beethoven, Mozart. They're very challenging, and it takes a long time to learn them. But if I stick with it, I can usually kind of teach myself. It's been a while since I've taken lessons, so I'm a little rusty sometimes. But if I take the time, I definitely can pick it up again. Along with music, I would just kind of say the arts in general. I did theater. As far back as second grade, I was Alice in Alice in Wonderland, and so that's kind of where my love for theater started. And then I did theater and drama in middle school and high school and into college, and so that's kind of part of my hobbies and what I enjoy doing, and so I consider that to be part of my culture. I was born in Southern Oregon in Klamath Falls, but I grew up here in the Pacific Northwest in the Portland area. And so being in the Pacific Northwest, as I'm sure a lot of you know, there's a lot of opportunities for outdoor recreational activities. And so my family and I love to go camping. I kind of was a tomboy growing up. I loved to play with bugs. I ate bugs. I did it all. I played in the dirt. I didn't even care. And so I still enjoy going camping with my family. Every Thanksgiving we go and we cook our food ahead of time and heat it up, and it's kind of a weird tradition, but it's our family tradition. A big part of camping, too, has always been fishing. And so there's me when I was about probably 9 years old, and my dog Nell, who passed away about 5 years ago. But there's me with my limit of rainbow trout. I'm guessing, I think that's at Devil's Lake State Park, if anyone's been there, kind of just right before Lincoln City. That was a huge part of my life growing up was fishing with my dad, and I love doing that kind of stuff. Also, I got into snowboarding for a while, and I should go more because it's tough. If you haven't gone for a whole season and then you go the next year and then it's like relearning it all over again. So, but I really enjoy that. So those opportunities here in the Pacific Northwest have been definitely a part of who I am. As far as my family culture, growing up here in Wilsonville, I wasn't around a lot of agriculture and farming, but coming from Southern Oregon, that's a huge thing down there. And so I've got a picture here of, this is my great-grandfather back in about 1925, I would guess. His name is Earl Philip Ullman. And this was his life. This is what he did for a living. And that in the picture is the thresher that they actually used to use to get the hay and get the product. So so that's a really cool old picture. More sort of recently, kind of sticking in the family. My dad he didn't do that per se, but he used to be a combine mechanic. And so this is about the early 80s, I would say, and this is obviously more like what they look like now, but the same idea. And so that kind of stuck in the family. And my roots are back in Southern Oregon and back with that. So even though I don't farm, I'm not a farm girl, but I still have kind of the small town agricultural feel, to my cultural identity. along with that, also living in that small town and being from there, country western is a huge part of my culture and my family. And so horseback riding is a huge thing. I used to ride horses a lot, and I actually had my own pony, and her name was Katie. And so this is me. That one there on the pony is me, and then my grandma standing next to me. So I have fond memories of that, and I wish I had ridden more when I got older. And when I go to visit, I would usually ride with my grandfather when I went to visit family in Klamath Falls. But it's definitely been a while since I've been on a horse, and I miss it. That's definitely a part of who I am. My immediate family is really small. It's just me and my parents. I'm actually an only child. I have no siblings. And so growing up, I loved that because I got all the attention and I got everything I wanted, and it was great. But being older now, I really kind of miss that. I would have loved to have some siblings or some closer cousins or something more around my age, or, I've had a great family life, and I love my parents, and my dog actually is a huge part of our family. But that's kind of shaped who I am, I think, not having that sibling influence. But in kind of sort of like my siblings in a different way, my family has been composed of a lot of friends and stuff. So, for example, this is a picture of me and my best friend Janelle. We've known each other since we were like 6. This is a really embarrassing picture. We have no teeth. But that is Janelle and myself. I don't even remember how old we are in this picture. Pretty little. Probably about 8, I guess, 7 or 8. And we are still best friends. We hang out all the time, and we talk all the time, text all the time, go to lunch. So she's definitely part of my family and like a sister to me. And then these are my parents and myself at my high school graduation. And so this is my immediate family, but I've definitely adopted some friends as kind of siblings into my family. And also, my boyfriend's family has really been welcoming to me into their family. And that kind of segues into my last thing, which, although it's not part of my personal heritage, I really feel like I've adopted kind of part of the Latino culture as I've been learning Spanish. I've been speaking Spanish for about 12 years, and I'm going to be a high school Spanish teacher, and it's kind of part of my life, the culture and the language. And so I definitely wanted to include that. And so to kind of represent that, I have here, it's called an alebrije, and it's a wooden figurine. This is kind of a huge thing in Oaxaca in southern Mexico, and they paint them these really amazing colors. I made my own while I was down there, but it did not look half as good as this one. But they paint them very vivid colors. Some of them are huge. This is a very small one compared to other ones I saw while I was down there. But I used that to kind of represent part of that part of my Latina side. So yeah, I that was really all I kind of came up with. I'm sure there's more. I'll think of more after this project. But it's been very interesting to kind of consider, what is culture. I think it's kind of different to everybody. What is culture to you? What makes up who you are? Where do you come from? Your background, your family, your interests, and things like that. And so thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing everybody else's cultural bags. Have a good night.